normally so
Love it.
here we go. Hello everybody, welcome to the LinkedIn Live. I know Steve is hitting a couple other buttons, mouse clicks over there to get this streaming to his audience as well. So how you doing over there, Steve? You think you got it?
I'm good to go now. Yes, we're
All
ready
right.
to rock. So
Awesome. Technology. We do technology around here.
apparently
Anyway,
we're
super excited to have this conversation with you, Steve. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to drive traffic, build audiences, unlock the hidden value in your CRM. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh Becerra. I'm a founding partner, CEO at Augurian. We're a digital marketing agency here in the Twin Cities, focused primarily on paid media, organic search, and analytics. Steve, why don't you go ahead and give a little bit of background on yourself as well?
absolutely. Steve Gerten, CEO of Agent Legend. We are a software solution for small business owners that assists with the lead nurturing and lead follow-up. And I think what we're here to specifically talk about today is just the use of, for those that are looking at adoption of AI in their businesses, the solutions that are available from more of the, understanding who your leads or who your customers actually are, can be done with database managers these days. So big proponent of using AI where it's applicable, where it can actually drive profitability in a business. And the database is what, in most cases, is the most transferable asset in the business. And so making sure that we are harvesting all of that incredible data. And I think we're going to dive into a lot of that today, how it impacts what, Josh, you and your team does over at Augurian, and ultimately how it trickles down to what we do here at Agent Legend, which is the lead nurturing, lead follow-up, and really enabling salespeople. So excited to unpack that with everybody that's tuning in live or viewing in a recording today.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so Steve, you and I met through Hill Capital. I'm an ambassador of Hill Capital, and you are a portfolio company at Hill Capital. And we got to talking a little bit about kind of our respective businesses and how they were connected. And so, I think like our first slide talks about, we both believe that your data is an asset. Every conversation that we've had just comes back to the fact that I think are in agreement that companies aren't leveraging their pipelines as well as they possibly could. So we want to show kind of your tool, how you can unlock that pipeline, what we do to support, healthy pipelines as well. I know that the team over at Agent Legend created this really awesome graphic that's going to help us kind of stay grounded through this conversation. But before we get into that graphic and move to the next slide, just Steve, what's your take on kind of this, your data, your asset?
Yeah, I mean, background on ourselves. Yeah, Josh, we met through our partners over at Hill Capital.
Yep.
We actually acquired Agent Legend and the assets to Agent Legend about a year and a half ago. And we bought it because of the data that they had. So for background, Agent Legend has been a lead nurturing tool for primarily real estate and mortgage professionals. Now, we are obviously going into adjacent verticals because we see the application there. But really what we acquired was all of this incredible lead engagement and campaign history and conversational history with the consumers. And we also acquired a pipeline, if you think about the plumbing of integrations with the leading CRMs in those respective fields. And so what we built and why we're building it is around just so many sales organizations. And I come from the shoes of who we serve now, right? I ran a real estate business specifically, but I've been helping and advising small business owners and really taking a deeper look in where you're spending your time and your money. And specifically, we spent a ton of money generating leads through, whether it was through an agency like yourself or through any other means, through a paid platform that we could get our hands on. And we spent a lot of time trying to nurture those leads. And so I had to hire a lot of people in order to nurture a growing database. And so the goal here is really to unlock that potential within the database, understanding not only who your leads are, but actually understanding who your past customers are, so that you can inform smarter decision making throughout the entire organization as we move forward. And so we keep that lens on, knowing that like really all roads lead to an exit, in my opinion, in any business that you're starting, acquiring, building, wherever you are in your journey. Like we all exit, we all get put in the ground at some point. And so what does that look like? And how do we make sure that we have something that is predictable, that is scalable, and that is transferable? And what we're building within Agent Legend is now, because we have the plumbing, because we already had the information and infrastructure to unlock what we've been able to unlock, we'll go in a little bit deeper as to like, okay, well, how do we actually now leverage the power of artificial intelligence with big data? That's really the play here that we're going to talk to ensure that you can actually like build remarkable experiences from the moment somebody walks into your digital storefront. But an online lead, it's no different than somebody walking into a Lululemon and how they treat each customer that walks in. You just don't know, Josh, like what I love your perspective on is like you hand over a lead and then what, right? You're kind of, you're relying on them to convert. And then how do we report back on all of these things? And we can do that with an always on 24/7 database manager, which is what this is. And it's applicable across any small business that's B2C. So business to consumer, that's the important thing to note here. And now we can just get better, right? Using data to just inform those decision-making processes within an organization.
For sure. Yeah, I think, we'll get into it in this next slide and that graphic that your team produced that helps us kind of box each of these activities into kind of separate functions, but how they all end up working together is really where the power is. So without further ado, I want to show off some of the work that you guys have done. So here it is. The life cycle of a lead. A lot of times we talk about funnels. In our case, we've got this a little bit more as a circular graphic, and that's on purpose. So I'll just talk a little bit through kind of the number one, which is lead generation in the upper right-hand corner. So, it's our job as an agency really to have a deep conversation with our clients to really understand their goals and objectives, get aligned around that, understand the personas and the types of people that they want to be driven to their website, who eventually will take that meaningful action on that website, which would be to probably fill out a form, make a phone call, basically become a contact record within their CRM, be that HubSpot, Salesforce, or others. And so once we kind of have delivered that lead to our clients, many times we have to kind of wait for their sales team to do the activities that they need to do in order to close those leads. And then I'll talk a little bit about what we do once we understand closed won leads. But I think, the handoff here to you, Steve, is so we've got campaigns running. We've got people who are coming through those campaigns to the client's website. We can use real estate as an example because I know we both work with real estate brokerages. So we're helping brokerages get buyers and get sellers. And so we're bringing those leads into their CRM. And now it's turned over entirely to their sales team. And I think what some of the coolest tech that I've seen is some of the things that you're able to do then with just like names and emails and a little bit of data that we're able to collect in a form. You're able to actually like turn that into a little bit fuller picture. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's important to also take a step back to like where my career started was working as a vendor for Target Corporation. For those that are tuning in that understand the marketing lens, if you recall the coupon machines that used to spit out at Target at the checkout, we were the company powering those. And those were all like guest insights and behavioral based incentives that we would work with the brands to spit out the coupons. If you all recall, the father, I think that got a pregnancy test for his daughter. That was us. So that's a reason why those coupon machines don't exist in Target anymore. But
Right.
that's important because it's all rooted in the data. Target, this is what the largest companies have been doing for years.
Mm-hmm.
And all we've done is repackaged it and brought it down to the lower middle market of businesses, right? So in our case, right, a lot of real estate professionals, because they spend a fortune trying to generate quality leads that are easy to convert, because the payday at the end of the transaction is quite lucrative for them.
Right.
So real estate's a great market, but you think no different than home services, mortgage industry, insurance. Those are also applicable. So if anybody's tuning in with their hats on in those roles, it is a matter of when a company like yours, right, Josh, generates that opportunity, comes in as like it's a silhouette of a human, and it is a name, phone, and email. We treat them like a line item in a spreadsheet.
Right.
Well, imagine a world now where when that lead gets entered into your database, your sales team, your inside sales team, your marketing team, if they're building email-based campaigns to create experiences that help nurture those prospects through the funnel, if they know who you are at an innate level, and it is I'll talk to like the efficacy of where this data comes from. But imagine just, hey, when I come in, let's use the real estate example,
Yep.
that I just had my second kid. I'm living in a 1,800 square foot house. And I'm also earning a certain income level. That's going to illustrate that I'm probably a move up buyer. And so the inventory and the products and perhaps the sales associate that you assign to me is going to be different. Versus, hey, am I dealing with a baby boomer that comes in through a lead form that somebody filled out that is maybe relocating? Maybe they don't live in that market. And if you have that insight from day one, imagine now it's so much more powerful than just a generic outreach. And so your conversion rates increase, and the amount of energy and effort that your team has to put in order to convert a lead goes down. So profitability can increase, where now in this illustration, right, that, hey, that person is actually a mother with a young child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you create those personas, and you ultimately provide them with the easy button to activate communications to them. I mean, that's what Agent Legend's been doing for 10 years. But the focus of this is to really just illustrate like, hey, we should be able to understand who our people are from day one.
Yeah.
Now, sales team is engaged in that quadrant 3 and 4. Sales is engaging. And what this does is it provides, like, no longer does your sales team say, like, in real estate, I see this a lot. And then like, hey, these leads suck.
Right.
Well, no, it's not the leads that suck. It's just you have to understand where these people are in their respective path to purchase. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are they just in the exploratory phase? Are they a marketing qualified lead or a sales qualified lead? Great.
Yeah.
We can tell you that. And we'll talk about this as you work your way around the illustration here, but you're using the data, and the data is actually your conversion data. So we first start with, like, Josh, right? You guys know you should, in working with a client, is like, tell us who you serve. And anecdotally, most agencies, most brokerages will say, like, hey, we serve luxury buyers of a certain income range. But if you actually took a deep dive into who their customers actually are, you can get a lot richer context, and that information is incredibly helpful for retargeting purposes, for building smarter campaigns, and then ultimately making sure that your products and services reflect who you're actually serving in that regard. So
Yeah.
that's what we ultimately want to bring to the table. And so now the energy and effort level goes down, conversion rates increase, and then pass the baton back to you, Josh. He's like, okay, that's just where it starts, because what we always looked at was we're willing to pay a fortune for that customer acquisition, right? Acquisition is the most expensive vehicle that we have. But now, how do we get smarter about retaining and maximizing customers? And so this is where it all begins. It's like, hey, we don't just stop with considering somebody a past client anymore. It is, what else can we serve them, and how can we serve them? And so we're starting to see this in, like, home services. So think about real estate, right? The transaction begins with somebody buying a home. Well, what oftentimes will happen is your information may get resold as a consumer, and now a moving company calls you, and then a HVAC company calls you, and a plumbing and homes, the electrical
It's annoying.
hookups, right? It is. So, but we work with companies now where it's not, right? It is, hey, what other products and services would you find value in us providing to you? And we can use our relationships to make sure that you're working with the best of the best. And then those folks can reach out to you. So you think about, how do you build that lifetime value? And that's what we're illustrating there in the bottom left. And then now it kicks back up into your world of, I love to hear like how you work your magic, because as we've been working with some of the like industry niche agencies that exist, they're not using a lot of the data. They're just in the business of like, how do we just generate the most cost-effective lead for our clients that's what they want to pay for? And so I think the reporting and the accountability is really important, because I've been on that other end where there's thousands of lead gen companies that are out there. And I think that there's a better way to engage with your customers.
Yeah, I feel like when we're doing our best work, obviously we are trying to get the highest quality leads in the door, but then really what we're trying to do from like a analytics and a data perspective is help our clients connect those leads all the way into their CRM, so we can pass like some hashed code through the lead form into the CRM that lives with that contact record. And then once we see that a contact has actually, purchased or become a customer, now we can take all of those customers that have purchased, and we can pass some of that hashed data and tagging back. It's not like, proprietary personal information by any means, but we can pass that back into the platforms that we're using and say to those platforms, hey, we have this audience of people who not only did they like click on our ad and come to our website, not only did they fill out a form and become a lead in our CRM, but this is an audience of people who have actually purchased from us. And now we can take that audience and we can put that back into the platforms to inform some of the algorithmic work that now platforms are doing in the age of AI, to make them smarter and make them find even higher quality audiences. And I think when we talk to sales teams about this, it all of a sudden, like the light bulb goes off. It's like, oh, wow. So if I actually do a good job managing the CRM and do a good job at like helping identify who the best leads are that turn into closed won deals, I can benefit from that, because now my marketing team can put that back into platform and get me even higher quality leads. So that's kind of that marketing optimization piece on this wheel here. And so what it allows us to do is just build smarter campaigns that are going to be more cost effective or be able to scale better and get more leads in the door. And I think that is where we've seen, ourselves doing our best work and sales teams getting the most excited about data, right? Because like at the end of the day, sales teams want to have quicker paths to closed won deals. They want to have better leads coming in the door that makes their job quicker and easier. And so if they can like start to envision how they plug into some of this work, that's when we start to see some of the kind of special sauce happen with our clients.
Yeah. Do you guys do anything like from a creative standpoint that you'll change, or is it, what I'm hearing, Josh, is it's mostly that conversion, right? A conversion's a conversion, and let's go find more like a lookalike audience to those. Will you ever do anything like a richer, deeper dive into some of that to say, hey, how do we make sure that we serve segment A something different versus how do you guys typically work with that?
Yeah, depending on the volume and the sophistication of who we're working with, there are opportunities for us to build audiences that actually nurture leads through the process pre-conversion, purchase, right?
Yep.
And so if we know that, let's just keep using real estate as an example, that a user landed on I'm downsizing, like what's most important to me kind of a page, and then filled out a form, well, yeah, they'll fit that user. We would assume fits more nicely into like a certain age demographic, or they're looking to take a certain type of action, right, with their home ownership. And so what we can do, as long as there's enough volume, we could build an audience around people who have landed on and or spent time on that page, like a certain amount of time on that page, and then filled out a contact form and became a lead. And now we have creative that speaks directly to that individual and their needs. So those needs are going to differ from a first-time home buyer. Those needs are going to differ from somebody who needs to go from a 2-bedroom to a 4-bedroom because their family's growing. And so the creative can actually match that. So those are the other things that we can do. Again, it's a question of like volume, and can we get the handshake internally to build those audiences? But once we do, we've seen it to be super effective, because now you're starting to get back in front of people with retargeting and remarketing in a way that actually speaks to their direct needs.
Yeah, that's ultimately, it lends itself to intuitively better results, lower cost per lead, right? All that good fun stuff. It's amazing to see the incremental strides, at least in the circles that we hang out in, is the adoption of like, oh yeah, I have been renting my information and haven't really been harvesting it because I didn't know that like a lot of this existed, or it was too expensive in times. And what we are like, it is now more affordable than ever. Like what we do in our world is we're going out and we're buying information from big data providers like the Experians of the world. And like when you click on, hey, accept cookies on websites, like for those, like when I'm talking to some of ours, like, hey, where's this come from? And we have now we've accumulated this massive data set. On top of the data set that we bought was a 1-to-1 matched 270 million households across the country, 1,600 unique data points at a household level. Now we don't tell you, right? There's data privacy rights of like, you can't tell the end user who this is, but it allows you to really do some incredible deep dives into the information that everybody who's tuning into this, like, is collecting an immense amount of information. They just don't know it. And so like, I think in one of our previous slides, it was like your data, your asset. That is really the key here, because at the end of the day, you need to have some secret sauce into like how you do what you do. And if you're in the business of, having leads generated just for the sake of generation, and then you convert them at an industry standard rate, well, nothing really separates your business from your competitor across the street. It is, how do you use that information to not only inform sales, but how does that apply to the marketing vertical, operations? How do you work leaner because of all of it? Because it really does, we fell into that trap where we were just hamsters on a wheel of like, let's go convert more deals. And you never get out of that. You're just constantly chucking money at certain problems, and you don't know what the true problem is. So that was the aha of like, just starting is always like the recommendation of like, you just got to take a step forward and see what you have.
Yeah.
And then once you start with that foundation, it's like, all right, now let's make informed decisions with all of our vendor partners, as well as our key people that we have to bring in-house to operate this machine that you want to build.
Yeah. Can you, for the audience's sake, because I mean, I know you and I have talked a little bit more in depth, and I know that you are more than willing to have conversations with people offline after this. But can you give us like a sense for like some of those, you said like 16 unique identifiers, like what are some of those other pieces of data that you've found are critical that obviously you're not going to get with a form fill from a lead that was generated from Augurian, for example?
Yeah. So there's a number of applicable ones, and I'll talk through like life event information. So for those that, come from real estate and mortgage, let's just use that again, but it's the death, diamonds, divorce, diplomas, and diamonds, I think.
Yeah.
Death, diamonds, divorce, diplomas.
All the D's.
What I miss? I missed one of diapers. I have one of them. There's another D that I'm forgetting right off the top of my head, but those are ones that would say traditionally, oh, perhaps this person's in the market. And that's what I used back when we ran our real estate business, and it was okay. Right. But those don't illicit intent. And so that's just 5 of the 1,600. The others are what they're buying, right? What are they buying on their credit card, right? You opt in to provide that information. Where are you searching on the internet? So in a lot of our circles, this is really big because think about we'll just use real estate again, like the platforms that control consumer traffic. We'll use big Z out there, right? Zillow. Zillow is the #1 search platform, and that handicaps you as a yes and no. They're great partners because they're really great at what they do. They figured this out, Josh, and it's amazing because they figured out.
Oh, we've got a client that's a brokerage that we actively are fighting against the big hairy gorilla every day.
Absolutely, but think they provide the best consumer experience. They know what you want and they serve it to you. And so good on them. But you pay a fortune. So they also, they're in the business. They make money based on selling the leads, right? So they sell the leads to a local brokerage to serve that customer and serve them really well. But they take a hearty split off of those transactions because they should, right? They did a lot of the work to nurture those people. So the goal then needs to become like, how do I, if you're not on my website, we'll use the digital storefront example, we'll use local brokerage ABC. If you're not searching on my website, traditionally we would rely on like there's first party data. Those are who's on my website, what properties are you viewing, did they fill out a form, when did they fill that out, and when's the last time we talked to them? Those types of things that generally drive the sales team's behavior. Well, we're able to now say, well, they're actively still in the market for real estate. They're just not doing that with you. So it's predictive scoring at the end of the day. We're saying who's out there buying and selling ABC product, right? This is applicable where it could be an HVAC company as well. Like who recently had their HVAC serviced, right? We'd look at that information and we'd say, now let's look at your database and see what behaviors are the same. So that search behavior is a big component to it. The credit card behavior is a big component to it. Those life event triggers are a big component to it. Tax records, those types of things that are readily available, that data providers will release to companies like ourselves. We buy it. And then what we've been able to do is you model it, right? So you put it all into a big giant model and you use artificial intelligence to tell you the things that you want it to tell you. So that's like with the advancements of AI, like we're only in like this third inning for those that are watching playoff baseball right now. It's like we are just hitting we are only beginning of what the power of this is going to be. And again, it is all rooted in like, how do we, if you think about consumers, you already mentioned like the various marketing messages that you get per day, and now we're all immune to them, and you turn off your sensors to it because nothing is specific to you. And so you're going to continue to see businesses adapt to those changes. And they're going to get smarter and smarter. And the goal here is that we empower what I view as like the lifeblood of the country, is like the lower middle market companies that like there's so much small business opportunity that exists out there. And so it just possesses this massive opportunity to like develop your own secret sauce and understand what you're doing each and every single day. Cause we're all spending time and money to build this asset. Like, it's the business, but a lot of it's in that database. And so your question was just around where that data comes from, but hopefully that's helpful. Some of them are modeled traits and, how would they get trickled down to us as well. But we're continuing to add to them. Like now you're seeing ChatGPT is becoming an immense, or any like just ChatGPT, will use that example as a platform, but those become now the new Google. So like, how are we collecting that information to understand consumers, right? So there's all new sources that we're continually sourcing for our clients as well to just make that data set so much more powerful.
Yeah. And I do think like sentiment seems, and at least in my world and the people that have experience talking with and stuff, sentiment has changed from like, I hate being advertised to all the time online, to kind of, as long as it's super relevant to me, that doesn't feel like, if it's actually connected to something that I'm interested in, that doesn't feel nearly as bad. And so there are definitely people who are still on the like, man, there's too much data, and what are we doing? We're sharing all this thing. I think, there's maybe some generational gaps in there. If my mom is listening right now, she's probably like going crazy thinking like, oh my gosh, they have so much data on me. But at the end of the day, if my mom has decided to move, she would rather have ads about like moving and how that and people who could help her do that versus travel or something else that's completely irrelevant to her at the time and place that she's in. So I do feel like that sentiment is changing. The other thing I'll say is you touched on kind of first party data, and I do think that like there is a lot of power and untapped potential there, and kind of the where the online advertising and just marketing in general is going is there will be and there already is, but there will continue to be like an increased importance on companies really maintaining their first party data, because that is something that they own, that they can use as a differentiator, that they can if they know how to kind of analyze it and how to, like I said earlier, take what they have in their first party data, build it into audiences that then can be repurposed into effectively growing their business. I think sometimes companies, especially in the lower middle market, just aren't really even aware or paying attention to those things.
Yeah. Well, nor should they be. I mean, think about, they are doing 10,000 things each and every single day to just keep growing their business. And this is the forgotten, it tends to get pushed aside. Unless I know some owners that are just, they're very deep analytical thinkers, but a lot of them are also the ones that were doing the wrenching, that are out there producing. But all we're doing is giving that lever of incrementality within the business, helping the dollar go further. It's like you're kind of slowing down to speed up. Like in the future, like that is a lot of what we are championing, is to do that. And that's tough to do. It's tough to grasp. And data like isn't always all that sexy with what you're doing. But if you can then prove that your dollars are going further and your growth, like you're showing higher margins and you can do that, well, that is where the light bulb typically goes off of like, oh, maybe you should have been adopting this early on. And so that's where, let's go all the way back to like the AI component of this, is like a lot of folks are like adopting AI. And so what we are championing is like, use AI to understand the data that you already have in your business. And you see like IBM promotes, you're starting to see IBM promoting I listen to iHeartRadio oftentimes in the morning, and you got those companies that are like, you use Watson to analyze your data. Like that's what they're doing. So think about that a little bit now. We're really intentionally focused on that lower middle market segment to just say, let's start here. And then we can make companies like yours more powerful. Our own company, like our profit engine within Agent Legend is our communications platform. So why we did it is because we know we can no longer just have a shotgun approach to messaging. This applies to direct mail. This applies to targeted ads as well, right? Like if you're still doing like just target everybody, you're going to lose. And so we had to get really intentional about, let's slow down. Let's help our customers actually segment and understand like who to prioritize in their database, because as your database grows, it takes more money to effectively nurture and convert those people. Well, now we just have to get smarter about who you're reaching out to, when and why, reaching the right people, right message, right time. And so that was why we did it. And that's why a lot of companies are starting to pick up the baton after that as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I know we have like 2 slides left. One that's just got a quote, kind of a real estate thing about why it matters. We've been talking about real estate a lot. And then I know that you also have kind of a gift or an offer for attendees. So I'm gonna advance to the next slide. I'm not sure if you have anything else you wanted to cover off on this slide about real estate. And
this is just one. The reason why I included this is really it applies to this lower middle market. You're seeing consolidation, right? You're seeing the transition of business owners, right? You got baby boomers are exiting at an alarming rate, or they're at that age, but you're also seeing the younger regime understand like, I have an asset that somebody else probably wants. And so the reason for this is, so let's just use, if you're an HVAC, an HVAC business, or you are a mortgage business, anything, this is applicable to you because there are equity-backed businesses that are actually swimming downstream, and they're looking to recruit you, or they're looking to acquire your business. So whether they're buying all of it or a portion of it, what they're buying, when you peel back the layers, it's the data. And so this just like is the aha moment in general. Like this was one that we did not too long ago for a lot of the like independent brokerages that we are in communities with. These are the indies in the real estate space, right? They are fighting against not only these larger brands, like you got Keller Williams, Coldwell, Century 21, EXP, right? They're competing against them. And now they have companies like Compass, who just bought Anywhere Brands. These are the two largest brokerages in the country. And it's a massive, massive deal. And what they're doing is they're looking at the data. And so, and they're looking at, if I can control the data, I can control the audience that comes with that data. And so that is where, again, if you can now have leverage going into any of those discussions, if you can have leverage, let's say you're trying to grow your business, well, you can hire a salesperson and say, this is why we will help you sell more, because we have XYZ in place, and it helps us convert at a higher clip than whoever we're competing against. And the same applies for if somebody knocked on your door and they're like, hey, we're looking to increase our footprint in your geography. We'd love to have a conversation. And there's a difference between for those that are like, well, the value of my business, again, that's my hat. I'm putting that hat on now.
Sure.
If you can present to them a asset like this, like we've talked about, Josh, of like the secret sauce of your business, I'm a firm believer it is in the data and insights that you can provide to them, because they'll look at it and say, wow, we should pay more for this because it's just accretive. It is an immediate just bump in our business. So we'll pay more for that. So that was the intentionality behind this one. I don't know if you have anything else to add just with your experience. And I even see like marketing agencies in general now. You're seeing a lot of consolidation too there. And it's, how do you just stand out at the end of the day when somebody's not just looking at your P&Ls? And I think that this is a big component of it.
Yeah, I do think that anytime that businesses can build kind of repeatable, scalable processes backed by data, like all of that is just going to help like boost valuation. So I totally agree. There is a lot of consolidation happening in our space right now. We aren't actively trying to do any of that ourselves. We've got some growth goals of our own that we're trying to hit. And I think, part of it is building these systems and these processes and trying to find that repeatable, scalable system can be elusive. And so as you think about like, well, where can you kind of build that system? It could very well be in this kind of sales and marketing pipeline that we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Well, this has been a great conversation. I know that we're going to leave the audience with a little gift here. So do you want to talk through the gifts to those in attendance?
Yeah. Josh, you and I were kind of just brainstorming just based on who is likely to tune in. So we just put together like no strings attached, nothing. We'll analyze and do a deep dive on your existing database. And what that looks like is just, hey, you have all these contact records in there. And so we'll use our database manager to help you just look into and understand where your contacts are in their path to purchase. And then we'll also give you like rich segments. So you can use that depending upon the CRM that you use. Our team will work with you as like, okay, then what after that? You'll work with one of our advisors to help you do that. Another big thing that you'll see here is like cleaning up the data. We're in Q4. of 2025 for those that are tuning in, maybe on a recorded session.
Yeah.
But again, this is where like data quality, right, is paramount. So duplicate records, missing emails, incorrect phone numbers, address information, you can clean it all up. And that's what our database manager will actively do for you with a click of a button. And like I said, completely free. We don't make money on that. We make money if you opt in for the communications platform. So that is for those that are interested. Just scan that QR code. You'll get added to our calendar, and it's mostly real estate focused when you go through that lead capture form. If you're in an adjacent vertical, just note that, and our team will make note of it and be prepared when we have our call with you. So hopefully that's helpful for those that are tuning in, and excited to lean in and assist the community that's tuning in.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate, again, your time, Steve. This has been great. We've just, I feel like, at least touched on kind of where some of the ways are that people can kind of unlock what's in their CRMs. And yeah, take advantage of this offer. I think is a good one. And I think we'll just say goodbye for now. If you got any parting words, Steve?
All good. No, appreciate you, Josh. We'll have to do this again soon. So appreciate it.
All right. Thanks everybody. Bye now.